right, I'll tell you what, Jonathan, I'm feeling kind of open sourcey. How about you?
Yeah, me too.
All right,
Let's
folks.
get started.
I love it. Folks, welcome to How
Hi.
to Become an Open Source Rockstar. If that has been something you're like, how do I get started? You're in the right place. And you're like, I don't feel like I'm being a rock star. Well, maybe you can just be a good local hero, and these are wonderful. So today, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about, first off, what is the stuff I can contribute to an open source project? And I said, yes, stuff. We oftentimes think code, but what else is there? There's a lot more stuff. We're going to actually cover that today. We're going to talk about the various roles of contributing to a open source project. What are those people? What do they do? We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to finish out this presentation today and actually show you the flow of contributing to an open source project. Now, the fun part about this is you might get a little bit of homework here, but it's going to be fun and there's socks involved, okay? So this is what we're going to do. Now, Jonathan, I feel all safe harbor-y. Can we?
Safe harbor, yes.
Safe harbor-y. I needed my safe harbor read.
We do have a safe harbor statement. I could read this out loud and bore all of you. Or I could say, Spring One presentation, safe harbor statement await, words of caution flow. How about that?
Did you just give me a haiku?
Yes, that was a haiku in English, or a sort of a haiku in English. Okay, so you know what? Let's introduce ourselves first.
I think so.
So, hi, I'm Jonatan. I am a member of the Spring engineering team. I mostly work on Micrometer, or sometimes on Spring Cloud Sleuth as well, and when the boot team lets me, also on Spring Boot. And I am also one of the leaders of the Seattle Java user group.
Well, my name is Glenn Renfro. I am one of the developers at VMware as well. I work on Spring Cloud Task, Spring Cloud Data Flow, and when my mood says it's okay, I work on Spring Batch, and when Oleg breaks glass in case of emergency, I'll actually work on Spring Cloud Stream. When I'm not doing that, I'm on the board of directors of Atlanta Java Users Group, hence my question about user group earlier, as well as I'm on the board of directors of DevNexus. And it is actually announced 2 days ago, but I'm officially been made a Java champion, so it's so new that they didn't even make it up here, so thank you. But, Jonathan, I really like that haiku. Let's just make the whole presentation about haikus. What do we think?
Have you seen these slides before?
Maybe.
Okay.
Okay.
So most of our slides, they contain a haiku in English. But the very first one, it is a real haiku in Japanese written by our friend Tadaya, who is here in this very conference. Say hi to him if you see him. And this can be translated something like bug fix, buy open source, reach to everyone. So as we go through the slides, please enjoy the haikus. But yeah, let's get started. What tools do we need as contributors if we want to start contributing to open source?
Well, the first thing we need is a place to put our stuff, right? So the most common place to put our stuff is GitHub. It has become the de facto standard for storing the source code and materials or the stuff for our open source project. If you have not had a chance to play with GitHub, it's a free account sign up. And what I recommend is just to kind of go in and push up a hello world. Play with the tools there, kind of do some pushes, play with how to get a feel for it, because that's what we're going to be using today in order to push our changes that are going to actually change a live project. Wait a minute, that goes back to that homework. But we'll talk more about GitHub in a little bit and how to do that. But Jonathan, there is another tool that we need to have.
Yes, so as contributors, we will need a tool to edit that stuff that we put on GitHub. And as you contribute to open source, most of the time that will mean like a text file. And this can be like as simple as a simple text editor or your favorite IDE. So please pick your favorite tool and yeah, you can start contributing to open source. But in this talk, we use the word a couple of times, contributors. Who are these contributors? Do we know them? Are they in this room with us right now?
That is the first fallacy to understand, is that there are no open source contributors. It's all a ChatGPT bot. Truth be told, everybody in this room is a contributor. Everybody on stage, everybody sitting out here. Contributors are the backbone to the entire open source community. These are the people that make things happen. If you have ever contributed to an open source project, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for your contribution. For those that are here, all of you here, thank you for showing interest, because again, you will be the backbone of an open source project or open source projects. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Now, there is a subset to contributors. It's called maintainers. And the maintainers are those folks that are responsible for doing the builds, right? They're also the one that reviews the stuff that you put in to make sure that it meets the project standards. It also makes sure they do the testing. They'll do the builds. They'll make sure that whatever contributions are coming in kind of fit into the project. Now, the thing is you say, how do you become a contributor? We'll talk about how to push the stuff in, but how do you become a maintainer? You're the person that starts the project is one way. The second way is that the maintainers see you as a contributor and they're going, wow, this person really understands this project. So in that case, they may invite you to become a maintainer. The other is that the community will vote in a maintainer to help take care of that project. So,
in fact, we have a couple of maintainers here in this room.
We do?
You can tell because they are wearing sometimes hoodie, sometimes lederhosen. But let's talk about what contributors can contribute.
Please.
And most of the time, we think about code. And don't get me wrong, code is the vital part of most open source projects, but it is not the only thing that you can contribute. There are many other things. For example, here is one we don't think that often, and that's documentation. And trust me, documentation is golden. Go to the doc site. It's better than Disneyland. The weather is great. If you have like indigestion issues, oh wait, what I'm doing here,
You're channeling your inner Josh.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's Josh
Yeah.
Young's joke. Sorry, never mind. So, a lot of people who are like interacting with open source projects, they are just not basing their experiment or experience how easy it is to like interact with the code, but also how easy it is to understand it through the documentation, or how easy it is to figure out how to do things through the docs. So if you go to the doc side and if you fix a little thing in the site or the documentation, you can reach out to a lot of people. You can make like a big impact. And to emphasize this a little bit, I told you that I am one of the maintainers of Micrometer. But way before I became the maintainer of Micrometer, my very first contribution to the project, it was 2 characters in the docs. Only 2. That's how I started as a contributor of Micrometer. So yeah. Just please consider the documentation if you want to contribute. But Glenn, can you think about anything else other than docs that we can contribute?
Well, yeah, there is. So we talked about things that we can actually add as documentation, which again, like you said, worth its weight in gold. Code, valuable. It's your ideas about the project. It is your ability to say, look, this project is great, but you know what? If you did this, or if some contributor to add this, it would make that project better. It would give it more features, maybe make it easier to use. Feedback is one of the cornerstones of any open source project. Most projects accept the feedback via what we call GitHub issues. So we're going to actually show a page. So when you go to the main project page, you're going to see in the upper left-hand side an issue. At that time, you can click and add that issue. And sometimes with project, we'll actually have something called a template. And that template will say, hey, you've got this great new idea. Tell us about it. And maybe give us the information, a little bit more information. So they might ask you some questions through that template so that you can put that in. Once you put that issue in, you're going to see probably the maintainers respond to it. You'll also see where the community may actually thumb up it and say, oh my gosh, this is a great idea. Yes, let's go ahead and go forward with that.
Yeah. So I think there is a special type of feedback we are missing. Can bug reports be considered as feedback?
Yes, bug reports are a valuable form of feedback. Bug reports tell us where there's mistakes in the project. It also tells us, well, maybe the documentation says this and the code is not doing that, or the code is doing this and the documentation has nothing in it. So bug reports are incredibly valuable. Again, you may see some projects that will have a template there that says, hey, when you submit your bug, please, tell us, give us a stack trace, tell us what expected behavior is and what you got, right? In some cases, we may even ask for a small sample project. And the goal of that small sample project is, as a contributor, I'm like, oh, there's a bug. Let me go take a look at it. Okay, I can't reproduce it. And it could be then the way that I anticipate that, that stack trace or how I'm using it is slightly different than you. So we may actually ask for, hey, can you give me a sample project that exhibits bad behavior so we can actually see it for ourselves? Now, there are a few to-don'ts in contributing to open source or contributing issues. The first is, please, please, please do not include corporate sensitive code. That is your company's value there. Make sure that you don't include that. And the things that I'm telling you have actually happened before, okay?
Yep.
Please make sure that you don't have identifying information or passwords. That happened last week on one of our projects. Yep. So make sure you don't have that material included when you contribute. The other is if we have a stack trace or you have some code, please do not give us a screenshot of that, okay? That makes it very difficult for us to be able to know how to, well, not know, but have to zoom in and look at line numbers, and it makes it more difficult as a contributor trying to solve that problem. Now, taking a step back, the other thing that could happen is that let's say you open up a new idea or a bug report and a communication starts, but one of us goes on PTO and we go on for PTO for 2 weeks. Some projects have bots in there that say, hey, that particular issue's gone quiet for 2 weeks. I'm closing it, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for contributing. If that happens, don't worry. All you have to do is add a comment saying, hey, the bot closed it, I was on PTO, or you were on PTO, please, can we reopen it? And at that time, the maintainer might pop that one back open.
Nice. I think I do have a question about, wait, can a question be considered as contribution?
Questions are, and answers are good.
Yeah. Let's talk about those then. So questions are usually pretty important, and different types of, or different open source projects will have different ways that they want you to ask questions. So please always check the README. For example, most of the Spring portfolio, we usually don't use GitHub issues for questions, but we standardize on Stack Overflow. So if you go to Stack Overflow, ask your question, please make sure that you are using the right tags, because the Spring engineers are watching those tags, and you can get the answer from somebody from the Spring team. And also, there are other ways to, not just through GitHub issues or Stack Overflow, but projects has other ways to let the community interact. And you will find those details as well. Spring portfolio usually uses Gitter for that. Micrometer is using Slack, for example, for that. That's kind of an outlier. But different projects could use different things. Discord, forums, whatever you can imagine. So please always check the README for these community interactions and how the project wants you to ask questions.
Okay.
Do you have another one?
I might. This slide is approved by Nate Shudos. We talked about that earlier. So Nate said, well, what about can we make architectural changes to a project? And the answer is, yes, you can make architectural suggestions on an open source project. Think about it this way. This is a subset of feedback. This is when you look at an open source project and say, if you were to redesign this portion, maybe add this new domain. Maybe in this case, what will happen is it could make the project more efficient to change, make the project more performant. And in this case, that is a valuable form of what? Feedback, a form of it. The other thing to remember is that it may be that we do accept it, and it's like, the community says upvotes it, but it may take a year to get there. And the reason why is the change is significant. It introduces some breaking changes. And if it does, we want to make sure we release that on a major release. And that way people expect, okay, there's going to be some breaking changes in the next major release.
Okay, cool. I think I do have another one.
Go for it.
Or type of contribution. And if you want to present at your local user group or in a conference, that also counts as contributions. That helps to spread the word about the project. And usually during these engagements, you can learn a lot. You can sometimes learn a lot more than your audience. And trust me, you don't need to be the most knowledgeable person in the universe about that topic. Like, look at us right now. Hi. And in order to emphasize it, let me quote somebody who is in this very conference. And the quote goes like, "You are the expert until otherwise told."
I've been told that many times. I'm like, I don't know, but you know more than the other person.
So with that, are we done? Can we go home?
Don't get testy with me. Oh, that's right, tests. Yes, we can actually contribute tests to an open source project. What does that mean? We can actually go in and look at the tests that are part of an open source project, and what we can do in that case is saying, oh, wait a minute, that test is giving us a false positive or maybe a false negative. Test the project's tests, right? The other thing is you're like, wait a minute, I see all these tests, but I'm doing a TDD and it's missing a couple. Contribution of that test may work now, but it may help us find that problem in the future, thus making the lives of so many people so much happier that it was caught by your test. The other thing is that you can look at maybe how an open source project is structuring its tests, and you're like, wait a minute, that's something we can use and make our test better. And the best part is you can actually refer to that open source project and say, look, this is how they're doing testing. It's live, it's in use, and we can maybe take and make our own kind of version of that here in our own office.
Okay, so with that one, let's talk.
You know what I want to do? I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and demo this. Let's demo this.
Let's talk about a little bit of legal stuff, okay?
I don't want to talk legal stuff.
I promise it won't hurt too much. But let's talk about CLA. CLA stands for Contributor License Agreement. And this is a thing that you usually never read, but it's an important piece because it ensures that the community is free to use your contribution. So in practice, when you usually open a pull request in an open source repo and they do have CLA enforced, then there will be a bot who will run a CLA check for you. And if you have already signed the CLA, then you're basically done and the check goes green and the pull request can continue. But if you haven't signed, the bot will ask you in a comment. And after you signed it, the check goes green and you are good to go. You can continue contributing. So I guess that was enough legal stuff today, right? Now, please don't do that. Glenn, no, don't go there. Please, no, please, no.
Licensing. Yes, we're not going to cover too much of this, but the one thing important about licensing is this. Before you contribute to an open source project, always check the license, okay? Because while Spring and many other projects out there use an Apache license, some don't. Make sure you check that license. And let's reverse the stream here a little bit. Before you pull down an open source project and include it, always check the license, okay? Yep. That's a key element. And there's also a lot of videos. I think Bob Paulin did one about a couple of years ago that talks about, some of the nuances of those licenses. Please take a look at that. It is very valuable.
Yeah. So I believe there is one more important thing. Code of conduct.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Code of conduct. So, okay. We oftentimes don't read the code of conduct. A lot of open source projects have a code of conduct. Now, most of the time, it's not an issue, right? But what it does mean is that we want to have a safe place for people to contribute and a welcoming place for them to contribute their stuff, right? But the thing it does is that while you may be the person who's like, I'm doing this great, but if you see somebody violating the code of conduct, right, it also will tell you how to report it to the maintainers so that they can take action to remediate that problem, to get that problem to stop, okay? So always take a time to look at that code of conduct statement.
Yeah, usually the gist of it just be, please be nice to each other. But with that, let's start. Yes. Let's see how to contribute. So what is the flow? What are the steps if you want to contribute to the open source? And I believe here our mantra should be commit, push, pull request. But let's walk through all of those steps one by one.
I love it.
So the first one is usually like checking out or creating a topic or feature branch. But if you have never contributed to that project, you might need to take some steps before that. For example, you might want to fork the project first. And the fork is basically a copy of the original project under your account so that you have write permissions. That's a nice thing to have if you want to modify things. And also, the fork contains a link back to the original one so that you can sync them together. And after you fork the project, you can clone your fork with your like a Git command. And the clone is basically a local copy of that repo. And after you cloned it, it's usually a good time to check the contributing file because it will tell you how to build the project, how to run the tests, how to import it into your IDE, what are the coding conventions, if there is a auto formatter, how to use it, and so on. It's pretty valuable. But after you did all of those, and this is usually a one-time setup per project, you don't really need to do this every single time. And after you have this, you can create a new branch, and you can start modifying things. You can do your magic, like fix things, add new features, break the build, fix it again, and yeah, after you are like comfortable with your changes, commit them with a meaningful commit message. And we are getting back to this on the next slide. But once you are comfortable with your commits, you can push them, which is basically making your changes like public to everyone else so that other people will be able to see that too. And then you can create a pull request. And the pull request is basically saying to the maintainers that, hey, these are the changes I made, and I want to introduce these changes in your project. What do you think about them? So let's go back to the commit statement side, or the commit statement. And this is a rather important slide. If there is one thing that you want to take home from this presentation, this could be it. That QR code, that will take you to a blog post by Chris Beams about how to write a great Git commit statement. And this can be very, very like important, not just for when you will, for example, like contribute the open source, but also at your daily job as well. So this can be interesting, not just for future you, but for everything else, everyone else who you work with, because based on these commit statements, people will be able to tell not just what you did, but why you did that too. So with that, we committed our changes, push them so that other people can see it, open the pull request. What's next?
Now the maintainers have been notified that there is a change that has come in. Now, as a maintainer, I'm both a contributor and a maintainer. So when let's say I'm a maintainer on this project, the first thing I'm going to do once I get that notification is I put on my maintainer hat.
Maintainer Lederhosen, that's also a valid thing, by the way.
So with this, what I'm going to do is wear my hat and be comfortable, and I'm going to look at the PR and go, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for the PR. You are great for contributing it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look over your changes. And with that, I'm going to say, look over those changes as a maintainer. I'm going to say, is this ready to merge? If yes, we're going to merge it. But if I have questions, maybe I see something that, that maybe I want a little change here, or maybe because, it maybe needs to make the project standard. I may say, can you add this test and stuff like that as a maintainer? So I'm going to paste comments in your project or in your PR that says, can you fix this or answer these questions? Now, I want you to hear my voice real quick. Some people say when we come back in and as maintainers and we put those comments in, they may be terse, but I want you to hear my voice. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this PR. We appreciate it. We just need to tweak it to make sure it fits in with all the other PRs that have been contributed to this open source project. Thank you. Okay, so hear that voice when you get these responses back. So now I click and I submit those request changes, and we're back contributor mode.
Okay, cool. So once a maintainer will request you to do some changes, you can continue the discussion in the comments if you want, or you can fix those things. And the thing that you need to do is basically just the same thing what you saw in the previous slides. Like do some changes, commit them, and push them onto GitHub. You don't really need to update or do anything with the pull request. That will be automatically updated once you push something to the same branch. So I guess it goes back to the maintainer because we did the change.
All right, so you push your changes. And as maintainers, I'm going to take a look at that. And I'm going to say, okay, these are great. Might have a question or two more. So we may go through this cycle a couple of times. Now, as a contributor, I have gone through this cycle several times because I do not commit code on a project where we have team members. I always submit a PR. So we might go a few cycles. That's okay. That's part of the communication that we have between as contributors and maintainers. That conversation is valuable because I guarantee you what it does do is it adds context to that change that you've provided. Again, thank you for that change. Now, once we do that, the maintainer is going to merge that change in. And at Spring, we have this little tradition which we go in and we will put in LGTM. First off, we'll thank you for the contribution. Thank you for working with us. And we'll say LGTM. What does that stand for?
Is it lettuce, guacamole, tomato, mayo?
Okay, let's go get a sandwich. I'm hungry.
Wait.
Whoa.
Is it looks good to me?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Looks
Okay,
good to me. That's right. That's what it means. So it's again, thank you. Looks good to me, and it gets merged in. Again, thank you for that contribution.
Okay.
But let's take off our maintainer hats.
Let's do that live.
I want to contribute something.
Okay.
So the first thing that I want to do as a contributor is I have to do a couple things. I look at a lot of the stories out there, or I look at those issues, and they're huge, right? And I'm like, I'm just getting started. Is there something that I can maybe take a bite-sized, get started my first time out? And so when you look at issues, you're going to see issues, and it'll be tagged with like it's a bug, it's a feature, it's for this version, and all this. But you'll see some tags that says for first-timers only.
Yep.
And this means that what we're going to do is we're going to actually give a issue that's fairly simple to do. We're going to tell you exactly what to do to resolve it. And then once you submit your PR as a maintainer, I'm going to spend extra time to make sure that you understand that process of merging that PR in to the main project, okay? So we want you to have that first time out. Now, let's say you do that first time, and it's easy, it's great, but you're like, man, these issues are still really big. I kind of want something a little bit bigger, but not like, I want something this big, not this big. So then what we have is another tag to look for. It's called Ideal for Contribution. Ideal for Contribution is the same thing. It's going to be a very detailed issue, and it's going to have more instructions on what needs to happen. But again, once you submit that PR, we're going to spend extra time, and we're going to help you walk you through that process, help you go through that cycle of request and change, okay? Again, we as maintainers, and really more importantly, as contributors, want you to be involved in the open source community.
Also, contributors life hack. Don't tell anyone, but we sometimes push these issues and publish them on Twitter. So if you follow engineers from the Spring team, sometimes you will see tweets from them that, hey, we have a new issue. This is a first-timers only. It's very simple. If you want to get started, go for it.
Absolutely. Now, there's even a question you have to do before you say, which issue am I going to try to resolve? What's your favorite project that you want to contribute to?
Oh.
Now, Jonatan, what's your favorite project? Go ahead, be honest, tell me.
Can I say anything else on this stage other than Spring Cloud Task?
No?
No, okay. Then it is Spring Cloud Task.
I knew it. I knew you liked that project. Yes. All right. So
let's find an issue then.
Let's go do that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go to, I'm going to GitHub. I'm going to zoom in, folks, don't worry. And I'm going to go to Spring Cloud Task. Okay, here we go. We're going to go full screen on us. All right, we're going to zoom in.
So let's find an issue first.
Okay, we have 24 issues here. I wonder if, oh, look, we have a couple here. All right. Let's see, we have one right here. And
it's an accident, right? How could this happen? What are the chances?
Folks, miracles happen every day. Yeah. So we happen to have one here, and let's take a click it. It says, README for the timestamp sample has an incorrect name for Spring Cloud Task. Yes, it's possible. And actually, this is a real bug. The README and the timestamp sample refers to Spring Cloud Task as Spring Task. The name needs to be updated on this line. So we select that line, and we can see that it refers to instead of Spring Cloud Task, it says Spring Task. That's horrible. We got to fix that. Okay.
But am I understanding correctly that the only thing that we need to do is just instead of Spring Task, we just need to edit this file and say Spring Cloud Task?
That's it.
That's very simple. Let's
That's
do
it.
this. I
I
like
like
this.
it. I think we could do that on stage here. So we're going to do that. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to go back to the Spring Cloud Task Project. We're going to zoom in a little bit.
Let's fork it first. How about that?
Okay, now,
How can we do that? Can you
oh, wait a minute. There's a fork button here.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
let's click that.
Suspicious.
It looks very suspicious. So now we click the fork button and it's going to ask you a question. It's like choose your owner. Most people have one owner. That's your account. Mine happens to be CPP WFS. After
easy
the
to
class,
find
you can
him
ask.
on
I'll tell you
GitHub.
what that means. And what you do is you just select that and then you'll click Create Fork.
Yep.
Now in this case, I've already forked this project. And what this means is it has taken a copy of this project and put it under my CPP WFS account. So if we go to my CPP WFS account, I know it's like, Glenn,
Just zoom in.
what is that? We can actually see that this is my account and it's now got a copy of Spring Cloud Task in it. So it's ready to rock. So let's go ahead and clone it.
Let's clone it, yes.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to do a clear. We're going to make sure that we have a clean screen there. Let me do this. Yes, I can make it bigger. All right. We're going to put that all back here.
Can you see it in the back?
Okay.
Okay.
Git clone -- recursive. Now let's see if I can actually spell this right. Recursive. There we go. And oh, what's the URL? Okay. What's the URL I want to go? Do you mind if I copy and paste this URL?
Please always copy and paste
So
this.
I
Like, you
click-
don't never want to type this.
Click the code, and I'm going to copy that URL to my forked copy of this project. So now it's going to clone that project from my account, my copy, and it's going to copy it to the machine. There we go. We're done.
I just wanted to say we might need to cheer the network a little bit, but this was quite fast.
That was really nice. I like that. So now we're going to go to the Spring Cloud Task Project. Now, what I have done is I've got a copy of my fork on my local machine. But now I want to reference it back to that original project. I want to create a remote reference to that original project. And the way that I do that is I do git remote -- add, and then
It's just that.
just add.
Yes.
See, that's the reason he's here, because I would have looked really bad. Wait a minute, I look real bad already. Okay, we're good. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our main project, which is Spring Cloud Task. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Sorry about that. We're going to go back there. And we're going to go back to, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, go back to this code button. Now I'm going to copy its URL. And
You
I'm
need to name it first. Don't paste it.
Oh, yes. So he's great. Look at that, man. So what we're going to do
How to
is,
call this?
well, you know, I'm just in front of 100 people giving a talk. I don't make mistakes. Okay, in that case, I'm going to name my remote upstream, meaning because this is actually the upstream from even my fork, right?
Makes sense?
So I'm going to call it upstream, and then I'm going to do Control V, and now I've created a remote. Okay.
So this was pretty important, and please always take extra care and don't replace these two. You always need to clone your fork, and then the fork should be linked back to the original one.
Correct.
If you switch the two, then you will not be able to push your changes because you will not have write access.
Exactly. So what we're going to do now is we've done that.
Let's create a branch.
Let's create a branch.
Yes.
And the easiest way to create a branch is git checkout -b, and we'll call that task S1, well, let's say 2023-A, just because it's alpha. Okay, there we go. And what we're going to do now is we're going to
Let's make the change. Let's open an editor.
Okay, we're going to open IntelliJ. Yep. And IntelliJ is going to bring us to the project. And I happen to know, based on what we saw earlier, it is under the Spring Cloud Task Samples. Don't worry, we'll zoom in here. Timestamp. And we go to the README ADOC. We're going to zoom in so we can see the change.
By the way, the file path, it was in the issue. So if you want to contribute, it's usually easy to find because these issues will tell you where you will find these files that you need to modify.
Exactly. And so we see it's supposed to be Spring Cloud Task. And we'll do that.
Spring Cloud Task, yeah.
Okay, there we go.
That's nice.
That looks kind of like that. Okay.
Let's
And
commit then.
Git. Huh?
Oh, damn.
Well,
We are
I'm making a purposeful mistake.
No, we don't know. Maybe it is. Like, let's see what we do.
Yeah, let's let the maintainers.
Let's see what
You're
the
going to be a
maintainers say.
maintainer now. Okay, here we go. Actually, that's what we'll do. We'll make him maintainer. Okay, there we go. All right, no, thank you. So I'm going to do a git commit A and capital S. It means I want to commit all the files I changed, and then I also want to sign it. All right.
Okay.
What should I say here?
So we basically changed the name of
Right.
the project. So fix the name of the project in the README. How about that?
Okay.
Or not README, sorry, in the samples.
Samples,
Yes.
samples, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, that's actually better. I'll just say samples. There we go. All right, now we're done. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and push this up to my local repo. So I'm going to say git push origin, and I'm going to push the branch up. Okay? Now that I've pushed the branch up, oh my gosh, you're a nice guy. Look at you. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our repository, and when we hit refresh, we see a wonderful little tool that GitHub gives us. It says, hey, you have a push that you pushed a few minutes ago, this branch. Would you like to create a pull request? And the answer is, yeah, I do. And then it says, okay, open a pull request. And the answer is, yeah, this looks right to me. Let's push it up.
Oh, let's wear our maintainer hat.
All right,
Or
so I'm going to
instead,
create a pull
do you want
request.
to be a maintainer?
There we go.
No, you get to wear the hat. Yes.
Okay, he's a maintainer. All right, so I'm going to do that. Now, as a maintainer of the project, I'm going to go to Spring Cloud Task, and I see, oh my gosh, I have a PR. I look at this PR, and I'm going to look at the code.
Could you make it bigger?
And, okay, does this code look good to you, maintainer?
What do you think?
What do you think?
Should change the C to capital C.
Oh, absolutely.
Damn.
I think you're right on the money. I'll tell you what. Yeah, go for it. There we go. All right. So now he's identified the issue. So we're going to go ahead and say, please capitalize the word cloud in the name.
And
Okay.
there is an important thing here. It's not there explicitly. Sorry?
This comment is ambiguous. Cloud means entire cloud should be capitalized at the first step.
Well, like this?
Okay.
I think he's saying be more specific because otherwise you get that capital C, capital L, everything.
Okay. I'm out of socks, but I got you, boss. You get a virtual pair. Okay.
I do have one.
Okay. Okay.
So it is not explicitly there, but this comment actually starts with thank you for doing this contribution. It's always there. If it is not, you don't see it, it's there, but it's hidden.
Okay.
Thank you.
I love you folks. This is great. Feedback, I love this, right? Okay, so we're just gonna add a single comment. Okay, I forgot. Yeah, so he was a maintainer, so we're in good shape. Okay, now I, as a user, will get a response back, and I will get notified that there's this change, right?
Yeah, let's fix it.
Okay, so let's go fix it, and then what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to go and if I went with the original, it was that Spring Cloud task, but we're not going to do that. We fixed that thanks to your
That sounds
change.
great as well.
There we
I kind of
go.
like it, but it's not the name of the project.
Yeah, good. All right, then we're going to hit, and we're going to save that. And then once again, we're going to do this. We're going to do a git push.
No, you need to commit it first.
No, I don't. I don't going to commit nothing. I'm having fun here. Git commit -as. Thank you. And then what we're going to do is, what should I say?
Let's fix like a fixed typo in project name.
There we go. There we go. And then we're going to git push origin, and then we're going to say the branch here.
So after you pushed it, you don't really need to do anything else. You're good. The
Okay.
pull request will be updated. You will see that update on GitHub.
So now if we go back, and I as a maintainer will, I'm not going to put on my hat because the sound guy's like, you put that hat on again, I'm going to
I
cry.
can.
He can't.
Let me review it.
All right. So now does that look good?
Yeah, I think. What do you think?
All right.
Good?
Looks good.
Okay.
All right. Now, here's the thing. Jonathan, I'm going to merge.
Let's merge this in.
Oh, no.
No, that's not.
No,
Oh,
I'm not
wait.
merging this in. I have an idea.
Homework.
Homework. So, folks, what if we were to do this? You saw how we did this. You saw the simple change. So, tomorrow, first off, your primary thing is to go to the talks, enjoy the talks, learn, share, talk with your fellow developers, talk with the Spring team, talk with the VMware engineers that are here. Learn. But let's say you get back to your room this evening and you're bored. There's no good sporting event. Television sucks. Fix this for us. If you do, and you come visit us at the Ask the Expert, what time tomorrow?
Yes, so I believe it is like 10,
11?
10, no, it's 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
If you search my name in the catalog, you will see just one session tomorrow. Just come there, and if you open a PR, get your swag.
Yeah, come by, and the first PR wins, and I will be there. Just look for my ugly mug. If you want to, I'll even bring my hat and wear my kayaking hat with me.
Yeah.
And you have your contribution added to Spring, and you get a pair of socks. Okay, now.
Also, like we have like multiple socks. So
Well,
basically,
if you got
if you see that somebody like opened a PR for this very issue, or like we have another one for first timers only, please feel free to pick up like any of those, and yeah, we might have some socks for you.
Now, for the rest of us that maybe there is that great sporting event, maybe we ate a little bit too much that night, and we're like, there's no way I'm doing any coding tonight like I did last night. On September 5th at 9 a.m. PST, these projects will post up for first-timer only issues. And you get to contribute. You may not get a pair of socks, but you'll get a thank you from the project maintainers and the community for contributing to these projects. They will be first-timer only. They will be very similar in nature. We just want you to take that first chance to walk through that process, okay? And we have a new volunteer, Spring Guides. Will not have one necessarily that day, but for the next 4 months or so, they're going to be rolling out for first-timer only changes, and they're going to do that continuously. So a great place to go in and help them keep the guides up to date with some really great first-timer events, changes. Now, we got one more thing here. Glenn, you talk too much. You talk too fast. What if I said that the instructions on how to do it are already available here?
Yep.
Spring Integration has a great article on how to do the exact flow that we just showed. The only thing you have to change is, remember how I did click the code button and did the copy? You're going to replace that URL with the one of your favorite project, either one of these. Folks, contribute to open source. It doesn't have to be Spring, but pick your favorite project, the project you're passionate about, the one that you know that you can make the most effect for the community. Kick back and enjoy. And, first off, you learn a lot. It's a lot of fun, and just hop in there. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing your interest. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thanks.
And then lastly, tell them how annoying I was. Tell them how well I dressed. Tell them how floppy the hat was. Please take the time to fill in the survey.
The feedback part, what you can contribute with, discounts. Please give us feedback.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Have a wonderful day. If you have questions, come on up.